The qualities of your relationship is the equivalent of the relationship with yourself. Libier Sandoval. She started her spiritual awakening more than 30 years ago. She became a Reiki master, intuitive NLP practitioner, a holistic life coach, and a master spiritual psychology coach. Today, Libier is going to join us to discuss burnout recovery, tough love, and universal laws. Hello, 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 and thank you for joining us on the Manifest on Purpose show. I am your host, Kimberly. These discussions are designed to help you elevate your mind. In today's conversation, you're going to hear from a very special guest. She's going to be talking about tough self-love. You give everybody else tough love, but how much tough love are you giving yourself? Please help me welcome Libier Sandoval. Hi, Libier. How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Can you tell us who Libier is and what put you on this journey to allow you to accomplish so much?
Wow, that's a powerful question on its own. Who is Libier Sandoval? If we can ever figure out who we are, right? I think that we embark on this life with that single purpose, discovering ourselves, discovering who we are, and ultimately, what is the purpose of all of this? I remember when I was 12, before going to middle school, looking in the mirror before leaving home, looking into my eyes. That was the first conscious question that I asked myself. Who are you? Like looking into my eyes, who are you? And that moment stays with me. Like every time I feel lost, I come back to the mirror and say, who are you? Because even though I've been growing in ways I never thought I would, I still find myself questioning, who am I? So after accomplishing all those things that you just mentioned, all the titles, the labels, I'm still on a quest to find out who am I. But Libier Sandoval right now with all I call it like a hologram. I like to see it as a hologram. I am the daughter, I am the sister, I am the friend, I am the wife, the mother, the daughter, the business owner, a boss, a coach. But at the end of the day, when I go to bed, I am Libier. I am Libier Sandoval. And I've discovered that the mission that I'm on is bigger than myself. The message that I'm carrying is stronger than what I can think or perceive. So I'm just a conduit for this message, for this mission. And whatever comes, I'm just going to continue carrying on.
You know, you touched on something that a lot of people don't think about, or maybe we do think about, but we're afraid to admit. A lot of times we do find ourselves asking, who am I? Who am I? Especially throughout the years, because we're always changing, growing, and evolve, just as you touched on. And sometimes we have to stop to say, who am I? Why do you think we ignore that call to action sometimes? What makes us forget who we really are?
You know, we have been conditioned by society, by cultural beliefs, by our family to pay attention to the external validation, to all the labels. You know, you have to be a good girl, so you can be a good mother, so you can be a good wife. You have to go to school so you can be you can have a good job, a good profession. You need to have all of these, and always is starting from the outer world, from the external validation. And then that at many times gets us into a conflict. Why am I doing this? My heart is not content. That is what we call in spiritual psychology a divine discontent. When our intuition, when our divine identity is forcing us to see ourselves, not with the external validation, but with that voice, with that inner calling that we've been knowing all along that we have.
Wow, that's interesting. And that's amazing because we all do face that. And it's another thing that programming is blocking us from not being able to see who we really are. And I really want to know if a person is listening to this and they feel like they're at that point where I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I want to be. What kind of advice would you give them from a spiritual coach standpoint?
Well, I will start first coming back to the present. Like I have this methodology that is 7 steps to come back to your inner self. That's what I call top self-love. You know, we all are used to this idea of love, but we reflect the love out to someone else all the time. It's to our parents, to our partner, to our children, to everybody else. But when we look at ourselves and we find in this question, who am I and why am I here? There is a disconnection between your divine identity and your physical identity. The one that is nourished from external validation and the one you need to nourish deep within. And we have been also programmed with this concept of resilience, right? You build these layers of resilience and you have to be strong and you have to show up for yourself and you have to do the damn thing and you have to keep on going no matter what. And those layers of resilience are preventing us to go deep within. So the moment we decide, and it's a decision in mind, it's one decision to go deep within and start looking inside those layers of resilience, like really let go, take out all the armor and go within. That's where the self-love is. But we have to be tough to break those layers first. And that's a challenge because that's where we all face, like, how can I even love myself? How does self-love even look like? How does it feel like? I was just recording a video about that. You know, I mean, can you remember when you were a teenager, the first time you fell in love? That sensation, the butterflies in your stomach and the tingling sensation on your skin. And I don't know, I used to feel this like sensation around my ears, a vibration. Whenever I thought about that person, that feeling for someone else. Have we ever felt that for ourselves? Have you ever felt that for yourself? Now imagine nurturing that relationship with yourself, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay with you, right?
So basically, the focus is not on validation coming from what's outside of you. It's really what's coming from inside of you. Do you think that fear has a role to play in this?
Yes. Because fear, we are as humans, fear is part of your nature as well. It's part of our nature. So in this fear, we tend to, and obviously our body is programmed for fear. Our brain is programmed for fear. And our brain captures emotions as fear. Therefore, it blocks the emotion and it prepares your body to go into the fight or flight response, the primitive brain. So that's why we run on fear all the time. It's normal, it's part of our nature. And that's why the first step into this tough self-love is to be present. Because if you are present and if you become the observer of your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your reactions, like, why did I react like that? Right? The moment you start being aware, that means that you are in the present. Because we tend to, our brain is like usually preparing and is also programmed to create, to evolve, to create these stories. So if we let our brain take us, we go into multiverses. Sometimes we're just wandering in the past, nourishing a story from far behind. And many times we are creating another story that doesn't even exist. So the moment that we come back to the present, we are not anywhere else. We can be the observers of ourselves.
You know, when I first looked at your website and I saw you mention burnout, the first thing I thought about in burnout was how we constantly work and tired and don't take a break. I thought about that kind of burnout. But now that we have gotten into this conversation the way that we have, and you explained it so beautiful, I'm starting to see a different type of burnout. It's a burnout that many people are suffering from. And like you said, they're not present, we're not aware, we don't understand it, but it's being burnt out because we're draining our resources, that self-love, we're draining that, putting it on others, but don't have enough in reserve for ourselves.
Yes.
I feel like that's where the burnout. See, you're teaching me something today.
I'm so glad to hear that, Kimberly. Yes, and that's exactly the metaphysical description of burnout. You know, we are used to hearing burnout from work, like blaming the job, blaming the boss, blaming others. But when in reality, burnout is just that disconnection. Because the moment that doesn't make sense, the moment that the external world doesn't make sense, doesn't align with your soul and your life purpose, that's when we start overthinking. And everything is like trying to push you towards making sense of things. And if you're not connected and in alignment, it's not going to make sense. That's why we continue fighting and looking for external validation and looking for them to see me and looking for them to acknowledge me and looking for them to approve of me. And we can't find it. That's why we go into burnout. And burnout is, knowing how the creative process works. You know, we create our external reality based on our thoughts. If we observe our thoughts, we observe our emotions create our decisions, and our decisions create our reality. However, if we go one step forward, one step like deeper, what's before the thought? Before the thought is your identity, your divine identity.
That's amazing, because you touched on two things that I think about a lot. And the first thing is labeling. Everything that you put a label on, it limits it. And for you to say that that is the root of it, is that label, that's very interesting. I like how you said that and how you brought that to the forefront. And so many people are caught up and stuck in these labels. How do you get away from it? And I read on your website, that you had to distinguish the difference between a mom and a me, I'm wife, I'm me. How do you separate or disconnect from that label, but still keep that relationship intact?
It's, I also call it a multidimensional being. We are multidimensional beings. Right now I'm in the dimension of being myself here with you. My children are at school, my husband is in the business. And but sometimes, if I go to my business and I'm in the present moment, I am portraying in the dimension of being a boss, a business owner, and whatever job I'm doing in the business, right? And whenever I'm cooking, I'm the mother of my children. So, but I'm still being me. I'm not being dominated by those identities, by those labels. I am being me in the dimension of a mother. I'm being me in the dimension of my sister, of an auntie, whatever you are in the moment. But you are still you with your individualized expression in that moment.
That's amazing. Listeners, I hope you're hearing this, whether you're a mother, father, whether you're a business person, no matter who you are to other people, please remember that you are an individual first. And you heard it right here from Libier. She knows what she's talking about. Now, where does the universal laws come into play?
The universal laws has been the sauce that has made everything harmonious for me. Like why did I had all those titles? Because I was still searching for more, but I didn't know that I was just when I didn't know that I was looking for wisdom, because I was just obtaining information. I was obtaining a lot of knowledge, and it wasn't enough. I got one certification. I got, the Reiki master. I was, yes, deepening into my spiritual awakening. But I was getting more, more books, more podcasts, more conferences, more teachers, more leaders. And I was getting a lot of information. I got a lot of information, but I didn't find what my soul was looking for. The one thing that made everything coherent and congruent was finding universal laws. Universal laws is like the backing of all things, is how the universe works. Like sometimes you just can't put like, why am I attracting these negative relationships all the time? Why can't I commit to a good friendship? And that's when you start like going into the universal laws and see how we have been manifesting these cycles in our lives. But also beyond universal laws, what made me like really understand and fully understand them was doing my trauma work. Like you understand universal laws when you start like applying universal laws in your favor, in your life. But if you don't have these two tracks available side by side, it's not going to make sense. You can learn about the universal laws, but if you don't do the trauma work and reprogram your subconscious mind, like it's just like getting like two separate ice cream flavors and just like testing one and testing the other, but they're like, you have to combine them to make one full explosion, right? Yes. So universal laws have been like really deep down what is making everything coherent.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to apply them? Is it because of that trauma?
Yes, we can. As I said, I probably stumbled upon universal laws before doing my trauma work. And I was like, oh, this is great information. It's great information. It's amazing information. The law of cause and effect, the law of love, the law of reciprocity. I mean, there are so many laws. I work with 52 universal laws. And then, and I'm applying one each week of the year. So in learning how they apply into our lives, it's not just a concept. You have to live them. You have to, as I said, if you find universal laws, it's great content, but living them, that's when the real magic happens. And you can only live them once you have peeled off the weight of trauma and limiting beliefs so that they can actually sink in your soul.
Now, Libier, I got to admit to you, I'm a little bit behind. I know
You're not behind.
about 12 universal laws. Where did the 52 come from?
One of my mentors, my mentor, my latest mentor, I've been with her for 2 years. And yeah, she has brought to life those 52 universal laws. And I'll be happy to give you more information about that. But yes, so yeah, she actually has a challenge. I mean, it's not a commercial, but she has a challenge coming up. And yeah, where you can learn all about the universal laws, about her program, about all of that, and learn more about it. But it's incredible, yeah, because I knew about 10 universal laws, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. This is how the universe works. It's mind-blowing once you start like really digging deep into universal laws. And mainly all of them are based on the one law of cause and effect, right? And oneness. We are one with the divine. We are one with love. That's why I keep coming back to love, because love is the force of creation.
I thought I was doing good. I gotta go
You're
back.
doing great.
I have to go back now and I have to study some more. Thank you for giving me that information, and I sure will appreciate that. That's very interesting to me. I would like to see. That's a lot of laws that we're missing. Wow.
Yes. So that's why, yeah, I mean, once you start learning about all of them, it all starts making sense.
Mm. I'm ready to hear about that.
Yeah.
I'm ready. So what made you connect the burnout to the universal laws? Is it something that you just happen to be on this path and you're recovering yourself,
Yes.
and you're also on this path and you find out about these universal laws and you kind of put them together? Is that how it came together, or just
It's mainly observing my path. Like burnout is something that I realized that I was very used to since I was little. You know, growing up, I'm the oldest of 7 kids. So I had a lot of responsibilities in Mexico, helping my mother raise them and all that. So obviously, I grew up with a heavy challenge, with a heavy burden, let's call it that, with a lot of responsibilities. And I was very sick all the time. I was in burnout mode since I was 7 or 8. So I used to run these cycles of, just like heavy flu-like symptoms. So my mom was super concerned, why is she running these cycles of constant illnesses? So I was very fragile, but now I get to realize that I was already in burnout since I was little, for so many responsibilities. So when I finally left home when I was 18, I went to work at the city, and then I got better. So I wasn't in the environment anymore. I was by myself. I was in charge of my environment. I was in charge of my levels of stress. I was in charge of my cycles, and I stopped getting sick. So that's how now I get to realize, that my body learned to be in burnout mode. So now we've been running a physical business for more than 10 years. And I observe myself running into burnout cycles very often, especially after intense periods of work. So that's when I started doing all this inner work and spiritual growth, I started observing those patterns. And I didn't know there was a label called burnout for this. And I was like, oh, it's burnout. Okay. So now tracing them back is like my body knows how to fall into burnout after a heavy load of work. But also is that disconnection, now observing it at a different level, at a metaphysical level, after learning about the universal laws. I was like, yes, it's the law of cause and effect, right? So if I'm not connected with myself and I'm expecting physical validation, external validation, and at some point it's not congruent, obviously my body starts to crumble. So yes, that's why I decided to apply universal laws with burnout, so that we can actually see how we are using an inverted law of energy, an inverted use of energy. Like, we are powerful creators, we are powerful manifestors, and we can manifest. We are manifesting 24/7. You know that, either on our behalf, for our own good, or on our contrary. So if we are manifesting something that we don't want, it's an inverted use of energy.
That's deep.
It is.
That's deep. And I can't wrap my mind around how you saw the pattern at that age. You saw your childhood pattern and you noticed that pattern after you left, and you mentally were able to say that was something wrong. There was a pattern there.
Yeah.
My question is, how do we know when we're experiencing burnout? Because as you said, sometimes people can experience it and not even know that's what it is. How
Yes.
can we really determine, hey, I'm in burnout mode, it's time to act?
Yes. So different ways. Everybody manifests burnout, in their own capacity. Everybody is different. I've also trained in homeopathics when I was younger, if I can say that. So I know that, each body and each person has a personality, and your body is unique. Your body is going to manifest symptoms based on your subconscious programming. Like, some people can get better with cold, some people can get better with warm. Like, I used to tell my children, cover your feet, drink something hot if you're not feeling well. If you're running a cold, drink something hot. And they prefer cold. So noticing and observing that our symptoms have a personality. And based on your symptoms, you can manifest burnout in different ways. We have also been taught to normalize our symptoms, because life is supposed to be hard. Deal with it, get over it, walk it off. You have a migraine, get up and go. You're not feeling good, doesn't matter. You're still a mom, and a mom shows up, right? So whatever symptoms you can observe in a pattern, that is a symptom of burnout. Some people will get migraines. Some people will get cramps. Some people will get these shoulder and neck stiffness. When you have those moments, like, you can't no longer function. Your body is so tense. So observe your patterns and what happened before those symptoms appear. Whenever I was working in homeopathics, most of my patients will always describe the beginning of their symptoms tied to a traumatic event. Ever since my mom passed away, ever since I had that car accident, ever since I was assaulted, and they started having these symptoms. So what happened that triggered those symptoms in your body?
That's an interesting way to look at symptoms.
Yes.
Now I can understand that every symptom has a metaphysical description or a metaphysical personality. Every symptom that you experience is telling you something, and that goes back to how the mind and body connects. The connection between mind and body. Whenever you're experiencing something on the physical level in the outside world, is directly connected to something that you're experiencing on the inside world. I'm learning something today.
Yes.
I'm learning something today.
I'm glad you are.
Wow. And your journey has been, and I know you probably wouldn't describe it incredible when you were going through. You wouldn't have described it as incredible when you were going through it, but your journey has really been incredible and amazing. And the beautiful thing about it is that your journey was not just for you. Your journey was for helping other people, because you're helping so many people here today, because I really feel like somebody needed to hear this. There's a mom out there that's feeling bad, feeling tired, that is in burnout mode, but can't stop and can't heal because she feels like she has to move forward. So it's wonderful that you brought that out, because a lot of people don't understand it. And I'm
Yes.
glad that you say we need tough love for ourselves. How hard was it to start for you to begin to give yourself that tough love?
The one thing that led me to realize that it was time to do my inner work and to go deep within, even though I had already been on a spiritual awakening for years, was when my mom passed away. You know, facing her death for cancer and witnessing her go. I witnessed her last few days, the relationship she had with my dad. You know, they were together for what, almost 45 years. So witnessing the interaction of my dad, caring for her, and then that bond, you know, father and mother. So in the last moments when I saw her passed away, I observed my dad and I observed her. And this is coming in. I'm writing a book, and in the book, this story is in the book. So I'm witnessing them, and when I reflected, is like, she is my mother, and she was the wife. What happens now? She's about to leave. Whatever they created together is staying here. What is she taking with her? She's taking her wins, her frustrations. She's taking all the unmet expectations, but also she's taking all the acknowledgement and all the wins that she had in her life, like all the accomplishments. And she left. And that moment stays with me like my strongest call to action. She left with herself. What am I doing right now? My relationship is dependent on my husband saying. My relationship is dependent on my children saying. What do they need? What can I do? What can I give? What am I taking with me? Right? So the moment she left, that was like, boom. You need to come back to your center. You need to come back to truth. What is that relationship that you are taking with you the moment you depart on earth? I don't know if it's in one day. I don't know if it's in 50 years. But I'm going to make sure that relationship that I'm taking with me, nobody can take it. No one has access to that, just me. And that's why I call it tough self-love. It's like, come back to your truth.
That's your call to action also. You know, what are you taking with you? Sometimes it's scary to think about those things or to think that far ahead, but sometimes that's the only way that you can wake up. Sometimes you have to ask yourself that, what are you taking with you? And while you think about that, I'm going to let Libier tell you about how you can reach her, how you can contact her, because I know there's just somebody out there waiting to get in touch with her so you can find out how you can get some self-love.
Yes. Thank you, Kimberly. So I'm actually having a 14-day self-love challenge starting on June 14. And yes, so in that self-love challenge, I'm applying the tough self-love for the first 7 days. And then the following 7 days are going to be like really self-love, because on the first 7 days, we're going to break out that resilience layer. And then we're going to go deep within. And then we're going to finish with an inner child healing and ancestral healing, because those two go hand in hand. We need to make everything coherent. So I'm starting that challenge, and you can find me on Instagram at my page. I am Libier Sandoval, and also on my website, Libier Sandoval. And then, yeah, learn more about it, learn more about this tough self-love. And if you are running on burnout, if you don't know if you are running burnout, you can as well download the Ultimate Burnout Recovery Guide, where these 7 promises to your inner self, which is the basic of the 12 self-love program that I run, are right in there. You can just download it on my website, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. They're posted everywhere. Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. This link for the Ultimate Burnout Recovery Guide is on my social media platforms. Just go and download it, get started. And if you feel that you are ready for our next step, you can also book a free call with me. So we can talk about your symptoms, your particular body, your design, and how are you running your life. And most importantly, who are you at the end of the day?
Libier, you have everybody asking themselves that question after today. This was an awesome interview. I thank you so much for stopping by the Manifesto on Purpose show to sprinkle a dose of healing on us today. Thank you so much. You gave us so much information to help us move forward on our spiritual journey and in life. I look forward to you coming back again and chatting with us again. Until next time, have a wonderful day.